Hello everyone, this is Tactical Itch here and welcome to another episode of How to Multiplayer. And today we'll be looking at how to break the dawi death box with, well, High Elf army. And yeah, today we'll be looking at two replays. One will be a traditional corner camping Dwarf build, and the other will be a more rushy elite infantry Dwarf build. So let's look at the first replay, and we have the army comps here. For the High Elves, we have a bunch of infantry, 3 rangers, 2 swordmasters. On the far side, these lion chariots of Trace, led by a mage of life, really going to be important in topping up the health of these chariots and allowing them to plow through using their armor-piercing anti-infantry attack and their also heavy mass to push through the Dwarven lines and wreak havoc in the Dwarven formation. And leading the army, we have Tyrion. On foot today, just the usual stuff, riposte, Hearts of Avalon, and all that stuff. But the most important component here are these 3 Eagle Claw bolt throwers. Basically, very cost-effective counter artillery fire. They are precise, they also do pretty good damage, and more importantly, they are cheaper than the typical Dwarven artillery. So at 700 cost, they can trade really efficiently against something like a cannon, just that they don't have as much range. So the only problem is you need to push them into the firing distance. So yeah, that's it for the High Elf army. Let's look at the Dwarf army. It is not the most meta build over here because, well, you have a couple rangers with great weapons on the far corner here. Are gonna have a hard time to leg it to the middle and do the support they need to. And for the Dwarven main forces, we have a few long beards here. Just really sturdy unit that can hold the line for basically forever. A bunch of miners with blasting charges, with 1 dwarf warriors with great weapons backing up. At the back, slayers, excuse me, protecting the artillery of the dawi, and yeah, for artillery, cannons, and goblobbers. Very precise artillery, especially this goblobber with the regiment renowned level of accuracy. For a one-on-one trade, goblobbers can actually trade really cost efficiently against artillery, especially with the discouraging effect, forcing the artillery crew to rout earlier than usual. As for the leader squad, we have Runesmith, Master Engineer, and Belagar Iron Hammer. So that's it for the army comps. Let's have a look at the battle itself. Right at the beginning, my triple Eagle Claw bolt thrower is actually out of range, so they can't really shoot into the Dwarven artillery, while the Dwarven artillery is free to fire. So right now it's just Eagle Claw bolt throwers slowly pushing in, trying to get into firing range as the Dwarf warriors and army formation try to do a little bit of repositioning. But as you can see, with the support of the Master Engineer, this 1 Eagle Claw bolt thrower is already really low and already on the verge of routing. Only with 2 models left on this one, and also only 2 models left on the other one as well. Basically, you can see how cost efficient, how powerful the Dwarven artillery they are, especially when supported by a character like the Master Engineer. But the thing is, as they're sniping the Eagle Claw bolt throwers, my main forces are basically pushing forward without any artillery firing at them. This cannon right now switch over to shoot the lion chariots, but that's the problem here. With multiple threatening units, Eagle Claw bolt thrower threatening the artillery directly, and lion chariots just approaching, threatening to roll over all the Dwarven formations, my opponent is now forced to choose between units to shoot at, choosing between targets. Yes, they can shoot over the lion chariots, but that also means they're not putting any pressure on the Eagle Claw bolt throwers. And now, as you can see, already 2 models down on the goblobbers, as 3 Eagle Claw bolt throwers are just firing into, using their precise bolts to just picking off models as they go. And as they were shooting in at Eagle Claw bolt throwers earlier, now they weren't able to do enough damage on the lion chariots, and now they just roll over the defensive infantry front line and just go straight for the cannons, and now, as you can see, they're routing them. Over here, some rangers just charging in, trying to do some damage on the Longbeards, but also getting focused down by a bunch of blasting charges. Not the best trade for them, but actually, I think that blasting charges into Rangers is not a bad trade for the High Elves either. These guys in loose formation, physical resistance are available for these guys as well, so they can actually tank out quite a bit of damage from the blasting charges. Like they won't suffer as much of a detriment as something like, say, a spearman, and so they can actually still get into combat with some combat strength. Now, these guys are just saturated with blasting charges, so they basically are dead. On the far side, Rangers whipping around, circling around, trying to get into the Goblobber, who lost all their unit models, artillery models. But I didn't realize that, so they're still trying to whip around and do a flank maneuver. And in the middle, Lion Chariots of Trace just roll through all the formations and just slam right into the Thunderers, silencing the range firepower of the Dwarfs and just getting into the back lines, just rolling over the heavy massed armored Dwarven units, while the Master Engineer is just trying to consistently work down the Mage of Life with his precise gunshots. But over here, some Slayers are cleaned up by the Rangers. Actually, this is a very good trade for Rangers as well. With physical resistance, they can tank out some damage from the Slayers, but and in return, with that anti infantry damage, they can just cleave apart Slayers. At the back, these Eagle Claw bolt throwers are actually getting flanked by Rangers, just with all their axes throwing in, getting picked apart one by one. But that is fine for me actually, as my Sword Masters are now in melee combat with the Dawis right now, and just cleaving them apart with their double-handed swords. Anti-infantry, high combat stats, 72 with that stand your ground buff, and also 48 attack. They can and will delete Dwarven units. Even Longbeards are just a matter of time for these guys to cleave through. Tyrion not having the best time in his life whatsoever, somehow losing against Belagar, but it's fine. He still have a Heart of Avalorn proc remaining, so he can just, well, maybe his health will drop, but it will pop right back. But that's not the case for the Dwarfs, right? Since they don't have any healing or any magic on them. So for Tyrion, he will come back eventually with that healing proc, but every bit of damage against the Dwarfs are pretty substantial. And yeah, things are looking pretty good right now, with the Rangers desperately trying to leg it to the middle of them to support their main line, but it's a bit too late at this point. The Longbeards are running really low, with Lion's Chariots just clashing into the back lines, silencing these Thunderers, rolling over some Goblobber crew who do not have any artillery models. Over here, Tyrion is eventually is going to defeat Belagar, and more Sword Masters are coming in, going after that Master Engineer, silencing his shots so that there's no more threats against these Lion Chariots. And yeah, at this point, like, I just need to clear out these infantry pockets, and only 2 Rangers units, they can't really do much, especially with the existence of mobility. So it's basically cleanup action now. Let's do some fast forward, and as you can see, Belagar is getting escorted off by some white Lion Chariots, and yeah, basically the Dwarven leadership cannot hold under the army losses. So now let's have a look at the post-battle screen. The Rangers didn't really do much damage here, as most of them just got blasted by explosives, but this is fine. They are there to clean up basically the Slayers, absorb some damage, the potential firepower, so they can protect the Sword Masters of Hoeth away from artillery fire or blasting charges or whatnot. The Eagle Claw bolt thrower didn't actually recover their value as well, but as long as they actually sniped out the artillery, the Chariots and Sword Masters should be able to roll over the remaining Dwarven army easily. As you can see, Sword Masters are really effective melee combatants with 2,200 value on this one. They just cleave apart that Dwarven armor like as if they're made of paper. As for the Lion Chariots, I would say they're definitely the most important anti-Dwarven tools in that High Elf arsenal. With the heavy mass to push through the Dwarven infantry lines, anti-infantry armor-piercing damage to bypass that high melee defense and armor of these Dwarven units. Lion Chariots are definitely really good, really good. You should always bring these guys against Dwarfs, if in my opinion. And as for the heroes, the Mage of Life is mainly there for healing anyways, and Tyrion did some good value against Belagar, but that's basically it. For the Dwarven side, Belagar did some good work, but the remaining, this Master Engineer actually getting almost 2000 value with that consistent armor-piercing shot, shooting those Lion Chariots, although not killing any models, and also I think they also do some pretty good melee damage. So yeah, overall pretty consistent stuff, but all the damage got healed up by the Life Mage, which is kind of a pity. Blasting charges, as you can see here, despite actually using all their blasting charges on my infantry, they're not getting too much value, as most of those stuff are actually used on rangers. And as I said, with that loose formation and physical resistance, rangers eating those blasting charges is not the worst trade in the world. Definitely better than, say, my sword masters eating those charges, for sure. As for the rest of the army, they didn't really manage to do too much damage. These rangers did some damage because my eagle claw bolt throwers were just sitting ducks waiting to be shot at. The Thunders actually did a lot of damage. I assume mostly from shooting at Tyrion, as he was engaging in melee against Belagar. But the artillery crew didn't really get much value back, as they were shut down early by the eagle claw bolt throwers, and as well as pushed off by some lion chariots. So let's have a look at the next replay and see how a rush army from the Dwarfs get dealt with by this High Elf army build. So let's have a look at the second battle. So we're facing a rushy elite infantry dawi build here. The High Elf build is the same basically. Triple rangers, triple bolt throwers, double sword masters, 2 lion chariots backed up by a Mage of Life, and leading the way we have Tyrion on foot. For the dawi army, we have a line of miners with blasting charges, 3 hammers. One of them is the PK Guard, very elite armor sundering magic attack infantry from the dawi, elite of the elite. 2 rangers were basically protected by the some slayers, one of them the dragonback slayers on the flank, and a bolt thrower. For leadership, we have a master engineer with nothing but the fiery ring of Thori, and a runesmith with rune of negation and rune of wrath and ruin, with that attack debuffing the hammer of Karagdraz. For the leadership, we have Ungrim Iron Fist with all of his items on him right now. So let's get the battle started. Now, right at the beginning of the battle, the dawi player realizes he is at a range disadvantage, as 3 eagle claw bolt throwers are now focusing down the PK Guard. These expensive warriors are like the prime target for artillery, so you don't really see them often. And now they're exactly what happens when you bring them. They get focused down by all 3 of these eagle claw bolt throwers with scatter shots. And now Tyrion actually just rush in forward, trying to bait out that blasting charges from the miner, but the miners aren't taking the bait. So at this point, I was like, okay, just send them into combat against the miners, bog them down so my rangers can get into the combat safely. But that also isolates him now that he's exposed to the fire from Master Engineer and the bolt throwers who can shoot in. But yeah, right now the bolt thrower is still shooting into these sword masters, just working down the health of these guys, doing some really cost-effective damage. And Ungrim is now just swinging his big ol' axe, hacking down Tyrion alongside with a surround from PK Guard. Just his health is really low right now. Even as you can see, some shots are coming in from Master Engineer, picking him off his health. While over here on the right flank, these lion chariots just roll through the heavy infantry from the dawi, wasting their blasting charges, and they're not stopping, even with Slayer trying to tie them down, and just roll straight through, and now shutting down the bolt throwers. These the Life Mage and the second Lion Chariot just roll through, and now shutting down the Rangers. And yeah, as you can see here with the Rangers and Tyrion's combined efforts, the PK Guard are tied down and allowing all these Eagle Club Outfits to focus down this very, very elite infantry. And yeah, the Assault Masters of Hoev is now engaging a second unit of hammers. Over here, Assault Masters charge some hammers, and with the help of some rear charges from Lion Chariots and Live Mage, they should be able to get out of this one victorious. But yeah, some miners actually managed to get into the Eagle Club over here, shutting them down. And while the other Rangers, are just circling around, these ones manage to get into engagement against these Dragonback Slayers earlier. As you can see, they're so tattered, as these Rangers are doing some really cost-efficient damage against the Rangers. Without the armor to protect them, the anti-infantry melee attacks of these High Elf Rangers can do a hefty number on these guys. And with the presence of Lion Chariots, it is pretty much the left flank of the High Elf army is basically winning at this point. Things are not looking so bright on the right end, although these Rangers are actually pretty much winning against the Slayers, I think. I mean, the unit attack says both units are winning, so we'll see how that goes. But here, these hammers definitely won against the Sword Masters of Hoev, pushing in and ready to shut down the last Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower unit, which is, along with Tyrion, buying time for this one last Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower to do some damage. Just trying to stand their ground, Tyrion trying to work down this Runesmith, but with the Slayer King inside, Tyrion has to run. You don't want to face this bloodthirsty, raging Slayer King while getting surrounded by dawi infantry. So yeah, Tyrion is starting to leg it, while these Eagle Club Thrower, being the final one standing, turn back to single shot to try to focus down Ungrim Iron Fist before they eventually get routed. And yeah, as a look at battlefield, the High Elves are in a pretty commanding position at this point. On the left flank, the whole engagement is victorious. Now the Sword Masters and Rangers are now free to roam and rolling through, going back to the right flank to clean up the Slayers, surround the Master Engineer. On the far side, Rangers clean up some Bolt Thrower crew, and now going straight for these Rangers and very tattered PK Guard. Well, this one last Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower got killed off by the dawi heroes and dawi infantry, very tattered but still quite potent. And Tyrion is just legging it at this point. Yeah, just running around trying to avoid the engagement against the dawi infantry and get back to the safety with the surround of his own infantry. And over here, the High Elf Rangers are now going in hand-to-hand combat against PK Guard and the dawi Rangers. I'm gonna have to say dawi and High Elf Rangers because they have the same damn name and it's confusing, really confusing. But yeah, even with the shields and axes out, these dawi Rangers are no match for the anti-infantry High Elf Rangers, who, as you can see, are now not only breaking the PK Guard but also breaking the Rangers at this point. Although themselves are actually wavering in terms of leadership, but they're doing some pretty good work. And yeah, so one last hurrah from the dawi, who got put to an abrupt stop by some side slamming Lion Chariots, just ruining these hammers and forcing them to flee. And with that, they left their Slayer King alone in combat, standing alone, getting surrounded by a bunch of Sword Masters, and Tyrion trying to finish him off, but seeing this desperately trying to die Slayer King, he doesn't want to do anything with him, not without the support of his own infantry. So having his elven lackeys surrounding Ungrim Iron Fist and using those chariots to plow through, pushing him around, and now Tyrion is now only dares to engage the Slayer King, who is, although unbreakable, but definitely not immortal. And as the Slayer King dies, so does the whole remaining Dwarven army. And that basically is a victory for the High Elves. And now let's have a look at the post-battle screen. As you can see here, for this time the Rangers did some massive value. Two of these Rangers managed to engage some Slayers, and got some really ludicrous value from there, as their anti-infantry attack, while not being armor piercing, can absolutely destroy Slayer units as they have no armor whatsoever. And yeah, from the Rangers' physical resistance can actually help them tank out the Slayer attacks with a lot more efficient trade. So all in all, you want to have Rangers to trade against Slayers as they're really cost efficient in that regard. And even if your Rangers died, you still have your elite Swordmasters of Hoeth. This one only recovering 500 value after fighting PK Guard, Miners, Ungrim, and a second unit of Hammers. So not the most value from these guys, but these guys managed to stall the advance of Hammers, allowing the Eagle Club Throwers to work down the second unit of Hammers. So still managed to got some decent value out of there. And this Swordmasters of Hoeth, cleaning up a hammer with the help of some White Lion Chariots, and then cutting through Dragonback Slayer, and in the end surrounding Ungrim and finishing him off. Definitely earned it back its worth. But of course, the MVP of the game is definitely these Lion Chariots. Not exactly the most damage, but definitely important in rolling down those dawi range power, stopping those rangers from firing, shutting down the Eagle Claw bolt thrower, not the Eagle Claw, but regular bolt thrower, being the really crucial mobility killing force that the dawi cannot catch up with. Yeah, their armor piercing AP attack, anti-infantry attack with a decent splash damage zone really helps in just cleaning up Dwarven infantry and disrupting their engagement. Of course, these Eagle Claw bolt throwers are really crucial in just finishing off the PK guard. As you can see, being tattered as they are, still manage to scrap back almost 700 value. It's a really solid unit, and you shouldn't be really engaging it in hand-to-hand combat, not even if you have some Lion Chariots. So shutting down those PK guard early was really crucial in this regard. As for the heroes, Tyrion did okay. Almost lost to the Slayer King, but the Heart of Avalon really saved him right there. Mage of Life, mostly there for healing anyway, so nothing's too special. As for the Dawi army, Ungrim Iron Fist, yeah, being a powerful melee powerhouse he is, definitely recovered some heavy value. Miners, not quite, actually. This one managed to get 600 value, probably got some decent blasting charges. Oh wait, no. This should be the one that cleaned up the Eagle Claw bolt throwers. Most of the miners didn't really get to use their blasting charges well, especially the one in the middle, as Tyrion just tied them down using a single entity character to tie down miners in melee and preventing them from throwing explosives is actually personally considering it as a pretty decent strategy. As for the elite infantry, the hammers did an okay job, but don't quite manage to recover their value. This one probably did by killing off that swordmasters. This one definitely did not, and definitely not for the PK guard. As for the slayers, they were engaging a lot of rangers the whole time, which is very bad trade for them. So not the best engagement at all. And the range firepower just got shut down early by those chariots, so not a good day as well. Now that we're done with the post-battle screen, let's have a quick look at all these anti-dawi tools that I've displayed. So now let's have a look at how each unit over here can counter the dwarves in their own ways. Now, I've talked about the rangers for quite a bit for their anti-slayer role, and also now we should focus on how a fast, aggressive anti-infantry unit can pressure the dawi line. With 40 speed, they can basically chase down every single dawi unit, as the fastest unit in the dawi roster, the slayers, only amount to 40 speed. They can chase down rangers, infantry, any routing unit with ease at this point. Also, with a loose formation and physical resistance, they have an okay resistance against missile attacks. So they can actually brave missile attacks and start rushing for the backlines of the Dwarven army. And yeah, Just a very good, cost-effective, aggressive infantry unit to push your opponent, pressure them, flank around or slip through the gaps of the dawi infantry lines, let them get the damage done. As for Swordmasters of Hoev with 90 armor, armor-piercing anti-infantry attacks, they are very cost-efficient in fighting any Dwarven infantry unit, even against something like a PK guard. The only issue is that they're very vulnerable to Dwarven missile fire, so you need something to shut down the artillery and missiles of the dwarfs. So that's why you bring Lion Chariots and Eagle Club Bolt Throwers. Lion Chariots, an armor-piercing anti-infantry chariot with high armor and physical missile resistance, 30%, making them very ideal against rushing dawi gun lines and also artillery, because they basically can tank missiles, not the best, but definitely have more resistance against missiles than other chariots. And with their heavy mass armor-piercing anti-infantry attacks, they can just punch through those Dwarven shield walls and go straight for the back lines, roll through without a care in the world. Of course, they can be pinned down by something, say, Flash Bomb from the White Dwarf, Grombrindle, or the Rune of Wrath and Ruin slowing effect, but then as soon as these effects wear off, they can just roll past with nothing happen. Especially compared to other armor-piercing chariots, like say the Gorby's chariot, the Razor Gore chariot, and the Boar chariots from the Greenskins, or the Cold One chariots. These guys, these Lion Chariots of Trace, have healing. You can actually top up their HP and help them sustain even longer in fights. So even if they're surrounded by something like, say, Giant Slayers, they can still get out of it alive with healing, topping their HP up, helping them to survive and go find a different engagement for a better, more favorable outcome. And yeah, these guys are definitely the best tool in the High Elf arsenal to deal with the dwarves. And then we also have the triple Eagle Club Bolt Throwers. The reason why I go so heavy on artillery is because if you don't commit enough of the resources on the artillery fight, the dawi, as you could see in the first replay, can simply shoot out the few artillery you have. He almost shut down my one of my artillery. Thankfully, it came back and rearmed the pieces. And yeah, if they actually focused down the Eagle Club Bolt Thrower one by one, I probably would have lost that artillery fight, even if they only have like one Grudge Thrower and a cannon. Thankfully, I have some Lion Chariots to just distract and force them to switch targets and shoot the chariots instead, so that gave me some time and space for the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower to focus down the Goblobber. And yeah, that's basically what you should do with this kind of build against a dawi corner camp. They only have so many artillery fire, right? So you force them to focus down on a single target, on a certain group of target. Say if they shoot at the Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, my Lion Chariots will be able to easily push in, roll through their backlines, and go straight for their artillery and shut them down. But if they shoot the Lion Chariots, I can just pull them back, top them up with my Life Magic, and while the whole time using those Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers to focus down the dawi artillery pieces. And if they shoot at the Swordmasters, then all these other components of my army will be focusing down the artillery, shutting them down the ranged units, rolling through their backlines, causing a mess over there, and disabling their firepower. So the line of thought is very simple actually. Just bring a great variety of anti-dawi tools, Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, Lion Chariots of Trace, Swordmasters, and forcing your opponent to choose between the targets. Whatever they choose, there will be other tools available to shut down the dawi units. And yeah, that's basically wraps up today's build. A lot of just a whole combination of a bunch of different anti-dawi tools of the High Elf roster. Like you can actually switch out a lot of units. Say, personally, I don't prefer that way, but of course you can switch out the Swordmasters of Hoeth and just throw in 4 white lines of trays, no, 3 lines of trays, or cut down even 1 more Rangers to get more, because they have pretty good melee stats and as well as the armor piercing damage. But personally, I don't prefer that because they don't have that kind of combat stats, the anti-infantry bonus that Swordmasters have. So on that kind of sense, they actually trade a lot less favorably, especially against some high tier dawi units, say the hammers and the ironbreakers. I personally would just bring Swordmasters and Rangers. The Swordmasters to deal with dawi infantry, the heavy ones, while the Rangers can fight miners, low tier dawi infantry, and pressure backlines, chase down routing units, and doing a lot of utility work. Of course, you can also switch out Tyrion and bring Alario instead for the Star of Avalon healing, or yeah, just a lot. This is not a fixed build. You can adjust it however. Feel free to adjust it however you want, but this is more like a personal preference in how to deal with the dawi. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something on how to deal with the dawi corner camps. If you do, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, as I will be regularly upload Total War Warhammer 2 online multiplayer content, including tactics, builds, or just general battle replays. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Tactical Lich, signing out.